Hey, Louise, it's
Yeah.
2 o'clock Eastern on a Friday.
Where are you?
I am at the YCAC, Your Kickass Career Weekly Wrap Up. Where are you?
I'm there too. Except I'm in the past because it's only 1 o'clock here.
Well, I said Eastern.
Okay.
Well, and I hope that there are other people here too. Actually, I can see that there are other people here too. Welcome as you are joining us out in the internet, interwebs, the ether world from wherever you are in the world. Yeah.
Welcome.
Whatever time zone you're in. We are just glad that you're here. And Louise, what are you celebrating? Oh my God,
I
we're a little
know.
punchy.
What am I celebrating? I was going to say I'm celebrating that I'm actually here because it's been quite the week. But I really am celebrating our workshop that we just did. So great. Just like it just blew my mind. So much work we put into that, and it came out pretty fantastic. So I'm celebrating that with you. That's where I'm at. How about you? What are you celebrating?
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, it was we just ran a 3-day event. It was actually a 4-day event because there was a bonus day today called Jumpstart Your Kickass Career. So we were helping people lean into all the juicy goodness of how to jumpstart their kickass career, and it was so much fun. Like,
Yes.
yeah, as two introverts, we're a little tired, but we are. I say that on both of our behalfs,
Yeah.
but it was a fabulous week. It has been so much fun. And yeah, I mean, it's the first big launch type of thing that we've done. And we were doing that because we also today officially opened the doors to the Your Kickass Career Collective. What is that? What is that thing? Your Kickass Career Collective? What? Louise, what is that thing?
Oh, well, Kim, you know that as we're going through all of this career change and trying to level up, it gets really tough to do it alone. And this is like what we found to be so instrumental is having a community of people who are going through similar things, who are or different, but in the same place in their lives where they're looking to do more, be more, have a greater impact and create more ripples in the pond. And so we found that there was a little bit of a lacking community specifically around this. And so that is why we have launched Your Kickass Career Collective, is to have folks come in and be able to get the information that they need, to be able to network with other individuals, to hear, right, how other people are doing amazing things, and to share your story. When we can share our story and talk out loud, we make a bigger impact. And that's really what our collective is all about. We have some great things in there. We have, yeah, but that's kind of the origin. That's our origin story.
That's our origin story. Yeah. Yeah.
Because right, we saw a gap, we saw something that was really missing, and we wanted to put together a place where we could all go to be able to support one another. Like it's scary stuff, and it can like shake us right to the core, right? It can shake our confidence when we're trying to step out and get to a growth edge, to bust through our comfort zones. It's all really tough stuff, and so you don't have to do it alone. And now you don't have.
No, and what's cool is the way that we set this up, because as entrepreneurs who had careers in workplaces where we worked for other people, and now we work for ourselves and other people actually work for us, we wanted to create a collective of people across the spectrum. So if you work, this is a place, and if you work and you want to up level, if you work and you're facing a growth edge where you are ready to step into that next something, whether it's in your business or in a career that involves somebody else's business, we want to invite you to join us as a founder member. You'll find out more information if you head on over to our website. But we're super excited about it. That was why we did, well, that's not why we did the workshops this week, but we use those workshops as a launch pad into this amazing collective. And our conversation today is about when plans don't really end up the way that you want them to, like when they fall apart, right? When plans fall apart. Any of that happened to us this week? I mean, it happened to me, right? Like, I know that right now I am out of focus and I can't do anything about it unless I leave this room. So I'm here, you're going to deal with me fuzzy. So that plan fell apart. I did not plan to be fuzzy. What other plans? Oh, there, I just became in focus again. What other plans do you think that we have gone through or that you have gone through that have kind of fallen apart? Yeah, you expected more out of that question. No, I just want to hear about the plans.
I did. Some of my falling apart plans this week have been around my own expectation of the amount of work that I can possibly do in the hours that there are in a day. And so that's been a challenge for me to do all the things that you and I are doing and juggling all the places and spaces in my life, right? And I felt this week when I put my attention somewhere, that just meant something else was falling off over here. And so my plans, they didn't fall apart. Well, they fell off. They crashed to the floor, is what I felt like this week. How about you, Kim?
So, well, I want to actually poke around here just a little bit. So, did you actually feel like they fell apart or they crashed to the floor? So that sounds like it's like that sounds really heavy, right? It sounds like, oh, that didn't get done. Shit. Like,
Like
that how
like you were here when I said that. Yeah, yes. Right? And it's like, oh. And as a recovering perfectionist, the F word comes up a lot, right? I failed at that.
I just want to give you a big old squishy hug right now. I really, really do, because here's like yes, as recovering perfectionists, and I joke about it. I was like, do we ever truly recover? I believe there are levels of recovery with perfectionism. But that idea of that heaviness of when things fall off of our plates, right? When plans fall apart, when things fall off of our plate, when the balls that we're juggling don't get juggled, when we go to that place of I failed, right? That's really heavy. That creates a big heaviness for ourselves. And so yes, that's why I want to reach out and give you a big old squishy hug, because I don't want you to feel that way.
I don't want to feel that way either. Who wants to feel that way?
No.
Right? And yeah, as a coach, I know better, but just because I know better doesn't mean I do better. Right, as a mom, in my relationships, as an entrepreneur, all of those things get all kind of wrapped up in that too. And yeah, I know how I want to show up. Doesn't mean I didn't go, fail.
Or the other F word.
I would say another F word, but we'll just stick with that 4-letter F word. And it did. Some of it felt epic this week, because it was like, I shit on myself. You should, origin stories shouldn't, I just say people should have come to our These are all the things that we talk about in our community, right? And it's because we live them too. It's not because we just teach them. It's because we're here on this journey together.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. That heaviness that we feel, that failure, the F word, right? It's like, which I say readily, but I don't want to have to flag something in the internet because we dropped an F-bomb. w- when we feel that heaviness and we create or we regenerate, bring out those stories about what it means about us because something didn't happen the way we wanted it to, or because we didn't juggle all the balls, right? We tell ourselves, we create these stories that there's something wrong with us, that we did something wrong, that we're not enough, that we're not smart enough, we're not good enough, we're not talented enough, we're not prepared enough, we're not right, all of those things. And that's a really, I was talking with a client the other day, we were talking about this enoughness. I'm like, that's a really big backpack to be carrying, right? It's the backpack of all the things. And like like close in on ourselves when we're carrying that backpack because it's filled with so much stuff that we should be doing, that we believe needs to be different for ourselves just because we effed up, just because a plan didn't come to fruition the way we wanted it to. And it's that, and Louise, I'm directly talking to you on the screen right now, but I'm talking to myself as well. And I'm talking to anybody who's listening, like, we need to give ourselves a break. We need to create some grace and courtesy. Actually, I pulled a card today. My card today was grace. It was about giving ourselves grace, coming from that place of love and acceptance that we're humans and we're doing the best that we can. So plans fall apart. Yeah. So this was big launch week, big heavy launch week. We were doing all sorts of stuff with your Kickass career with YCAC. We're like all fund up, having a good time doing it. Other business needs to be done. In the midst of it, Wednesday night, our daughter comes home, has COVID. So now, and I'm solo parenting for the, gazillionth week in a row right now. Honey, I love you. Come home soon. Um, and it feels like, what the F?
Mm-hmm.
Like, right? We had a medical thing come up for our dog last week, at the last Friday, a week ago. I got the news, and I was dealing with that this week. Not just my emotions, but other people's emotions about it. And it's like, I want to help. I want to be there for him. I want to be there for her. And I'm pointing down because the dog's literally right there next to me. And I want to be there for my friends. I want to be there for, all these people. And I want to be there for me. But something has to give. And so finding that grace, finding that love for ourselves, I think is so important when we're just doing the best we can. My dishes haven't been done for 2 days. I am going to own that right here publicly. Why have they not been done? Because I don't have the energy and something has to give.
Well, and that comes into like, right, like where we only get so much time in a day. And so what's the most, what's important to us and to be spending that time on those things, right? And some of the other stuff is just clearly not important. But I think what happens is that when you've got that backpack on, when you got that armor, and you can't see the difference between a big rock and a pebble. You can't see what that looks like. And so then we start spending our time on those things that just clearly aren't important. And then the important things don't get done. And then it feels like a failure. It feels really, really crappy. One of the tools that I use with an epic fail is like, okay, really? Was there blood? Did somebody die? I've said this before. I'm not a brain surgeon. Like whatever fell off on the floor, literally I get to pick that up because it feels like it broke. It didn't. Nothing is broken or unfixable or right, irreparable. So I get to look at it and I get to say, okay, so where do I go from here? What did I learn? And I get to ask, was it really that important? Just because I feel like it fell off my plate, did it really even belong on my plate in the first place? And I get to ask those questions.
It's a really big deal, right? Because we, particularly as individuals who are high achievers, right? High performers, we are used to getting it all done. And we're used to pushing through until it all gets done, right? But to our detriment, quite frankly, only to our detriment. There are lots of people, lots of individuals who can help us, who can support us, who we can delegate to. So that's one aspect. We can let things just fall and be okay with the fact that for right now, it's just going to fall. It doesn't have to fall with a thud.
It doesn't
Maybe
even have to break when it
it
falls.
doesn't, but it has to fall, because when plans fall apart, we have put so much pressure on ourselves to get this plan right. Right? As a stage manager, who is responsible for the run of a theatrical show, for somebody who ran events, like I saw this all the time. It was always the 99% of the people in the world will never know something didn't go right. Right? Misfired cue. The scrim came down at the wrong time. An actor came on at the wrong time. Here's the thing. It either goes unnoticed or just speak into it. Yep, totally didn't make that cue call correctly, right? Or if you're, sending out, you said you were going to follow up on something and it fell off your radar, own it. Own it. If that person on the other side doesn't want to accept that, that is not your issue. All you can do is own it. If you ignore it, if you keep pushing it away and beating yourself up, you're only making it worse for yourself. But taking responsibility and stepping into it and saying, yeah, that fell off my plate. I'm human. It fell off my plate.
Right.
Right? But everything's an emergency. But it's not. And to your point, unless you're listening and you are a brain surgeon, please do all that you
There
can.
are emergencies. Really, there are.
Right. There are true emergencies, but those true emergencies are not in our day-to-day lives, generally speaking. Right. If you're an
Right.
emergency physician, please, right, know that I'm not speaking
Step
to you.
away. Yes. Step away from this podcast if there's an emergency. Yeah, I think too is that we often forget sticking to a plan is a very fixed mindset, right? Like we only make a plan with the information we have currently at the time, and we set our expectation, we set our plan, we set our course, and when plans fall apart, it's usually because we're head down and we're just plowing through. Usually because we have a lot on our plates, and that's how we try to get through the day or the week. And that doesn't allow us to use all of the rest of our beautiful brains and bodies to find different ways to see different things that's happening out there. Just because a plan doesn't go according to plan doesn't mean that it's a failure either. There are lots of things that can happen in the course of execution that we never even imagined. And that's okay. We only made our plan with the information we had at the time. Now we get to get more information as we go. We get to learn and grow. And sometimes, right, the greatest things happen when plans fall apart. We know, just ask any inventor ever in the history of the world. That thing was a plan that fell apart.
Thank you,
It
penicillin.
has to be, right? Yeah, it has to be. Because if it wasn't, then we would have already had it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. It takes some time for sure to kind of be able to step back and say, oh, wait a minute. That was actually really neat how that all kind of came out at the end. And there is cause for celebration. Did it go according to plan? Nope. Thank goodness. Because who saw that coming?
Well, and it's funny because, if I think about like the day to day when I set a plan, right? Like I set an agenda for the day maybe, or I set an agenda for the week, and I get sidetracked. Things pull my attention, a sick kiddo, a sick pup, dishes piling up, whatever those things are. Those are like the day-to-day things. It can be a meeting that runs too long. It can be a client that reaches out and is like, I just need an extra session, right? It can be media house reaching out and saying, I need you to do this interview right now. Media house, we are here. So when those things pop up, right, it does throw our day, our week off course. And very often it takes our brains a while to get back into it, right? It's the brain switching when we are
Mhm.
and we do this a lot when we're multitasking. When you're sitting there and you're trying to multitask, you're trying to do one thing, and then you get interrupted and you kind of deal with that other thing, and then you try and go back. Your brain is actually slowing down and needs to come back up to pace. So to switch back and forth between, oh, there's this emergency thing that I just dealt with, and expect yourself to pop right back in and be right at the same speed is, again, not giving yourself grace. It's not giving yourself an understanding. Your brain actually can't do that. It's not wired to do that. Even as women who are wired to multitask better than men, supposedly, that's what I've read. I don't know if it's true. The I have a very small number of people that I have paid that close attention to with their multitasking. I have no idea if it's true. Um, but our brains aren't meant to do that.
Mhm.
Like we're really not meant to operate in that way. So again, giving ourselves some understanding that as a human being, the amount of things that we have given ourselves, even if we have like set ourselves up for success with a plan, understanding that mistakes happen, emergencies happen, life happens, and to just breathe and move through it the best we can. Can we be deflated and disappointed? Hell yeah. Those are real and true emotions in that moment. And yet it's also okay to be like, that sucked, move along.
Mhm. So, and this all takes practice, right? Like as a recovering perfectionist, constantly I'm putting things into my day. Okay, well, that's a lot. Every other day, I would have to say, to kind of practice this ability to let things be things and not get so personally or emotionally attached to something because it's not me. That's not who I am. That thing that fell off my plate, that's not me, right? I didn't break on the floor. I'm still here. I'm still whole. But one of the things that really helps me try to embrace this idea of flexibility, of like detachment from that thing, is meditation, and working a regular meditation practice into my day has really, really helped me with that idea of like I can trying to let things go a little bit easier. And I know it sounds strange to say, like, what would meditation have to do with like it not falling apart when a plan falls apart? Except it really does, because we are training our brains in a way that is new and different to be able to let things go. That's the whole point of meditation. Let it go. And then we get to
Channel
bring
your inner Elsa.
Kim, do you have any like tips or things to kind of help with this idea of how to put yourself back together when plans fall apart?
Yeah, absolutely. So this one is something that I recommend that people practice when plans are not falling apart, so that it's accessible to you when plans do fall apart. And it goes along with that idea of meditation. It's a true mindfulness practice. It takes less than a minute to do. We're going to do it right now, as a matter of fact. But it gives us that ability to get out of the fight or flight response pattern, right? Where it's like you're constantly reacting to what's happening. I always think of it as like this ball of chaos that's happening in the world around us. Sometimes we are feeding that ball of chaos ourselves, and we just kind of get hit by the occasional thing. And so when we are in that state of, holy crap, that ball of chaos is coming right at me, we can very much go into this state of mindfulness to get our parasympathetic system, nervous system calmed back down. And again, if we're practicing this regularly, when those things come at us, we can do it a lot more easily. So we're going to all do it together, all right? So right now, I want you to take a deep breath and just let it out. Just be really, like, okay, that was weird. What woo-woo thing are we going to do? Hold on to your socks. You might like it. Okay, right now, just look around your room, look around your space, look around wherever you are. If you're driving a car, you can still do this. Please do not close your eyes.
Please.
Notice 5 things that you can see. Notice 4 things you can hear. Could be a car, could be the wind, could be the sound of my voice. 4 things you can hear. Three things you can feel. Can be your tush on the seat, can be the feel of your clothing, can be the temperature of the air. 3 things you can feel. Two things you can smell. If you have hand lotion on, if you have a cup of coffee nearby, if you have a glass of wine nearby. And then 1 thing you can taste. And that's it. You're done. Mindfulness practice. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Going through each of your senses, giving you an opportunity to just dial everything down and come back to present. Louise, how was that for you?
That was good. I didn't hear all the sounds, which I found was interesting. But yeah, it does. It just puts you back into the present so that you have all of your capacity to figure out what to do next or where to go or what's important, right? It's keeping your eyes on the road.
Which,
sure.
if you are listening to this while driving, please do that.
Yeah, please.
So,
Or walking.
or walking, whichever. Keep your eyes on fixed. So I find it really interesting because what happens is when we start to tell those stories, when we go to that place of that heaviness, of when plans fall apart, I'm a failure. I effed up. This is like, there's something wrong with me. We have flooded ourselves with all of this emotion and all of these stories and all of this gunk. And even that ability of coming back to a little bit of mindfulness allows us to cognate with clarity. Like, we can think with clarity. We can think about, oh, okay, yeah, that didn't feel real good that I let that person down. I can apologize and now move on with my day. Right? We don't have to make it bigger than it is, which I think is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Golden nuggets from today, my friend?
I think it's this idea. Well, I should on myself, which I thought was really interesting because that's what I like to talk about is to not should. And so it was this idea of like, we can put all of these things into practice. And if you've been listening to, right, this wrap up or anything that you and I put out into the world, like it's all good, but it's all practice, right? Like, and so it's catching yourself a little bit sooner. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional and paying attention. And so that's kind of what I got out of the shitting on myself. Because I tell people not to shit on themselves. And then here I turned around and did it. And so that's okay. But yeah, it's a practice. So that's kind of what I got out of today. How about you, Kim?
Well, I loved when you brought up the thought of this whole idea of fixed mindset, right? And that we have we very often walk around with a very fixed, very limited mindset, where we create this black and white scenario for ourselves when there is a load of possibility available at any moment, which just really led me to that idea of, right? I talk a lot about choice, right? We're in choice at all times. So this idea that we didn't fail, we just made a different choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just made a different choice. And what did we learn from that choice, right?
Yeah.
It's not a failure. So that I really appreciated you bringing up that idea of like limited and fixed mindset, because I think that that's a really key thought to this whole thing. That when plans fall apart, when we don't get what it is that we set out to do, or if we feel like that failure place is, we're really in that fixed mindset, and how can we break that open and create possibility for ourselves?
Yeah.
So if you've enjoyed this conversation and or other weeks' conversations, we would love to have more conversations with you over at the collective. It's done.
So yeah, we're inviting you to come join the collective. Go to your kickasscareer.com, and we have a little bit of information there. Check it out, and we'd love to see you inside. This is really about just together we're better, and really figuring out how you step into this new place, this new space, and level up.
And we are starting our founders cohort in October. So we'd love for you to take part in that as well. There's more information on the website, or reach out to us at Your Kickass Career. Wow, that just got stuck in my head. Your Kickass Career at gmail.com. There we go. I couldn't get the Gmail part out. Because we would love to hear from you. If we can answer any questions, please reach out. We are always here for you. Thank you for joining us week to week on the weekly wrap up. And we look forward to talking to you next week when we're talking about
getting out of our own way. Yes.
Yep.
Indeed.
Indeed. Again, I think there's going to be some of that fixed versus growth mindset conversation going on in that one, but I think it's so important as we're looking to expand ourselves, right? And step into that next iteration of self.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks everyone for joining us today.
Absolutely. Okay. Bye for now.
Take care. Bye.